How to close a company down in the UK that has debts. So, if your company has debts and you can't pay your debts, you've become insolvent. So what you're meant to do as a responsible director is the minute you can't pay your debts on time is to seek professional insolvency advice. Someone like me, it doesn't have to be me, some great companies out there. And what they'll do is they'll advise you your options. And if there's no hope of recovery, there's no hope of restructuring those business debts, then they're going to advise that potentially you need to put your company into a voluntary liquidation. And a voluntary liquidation is where you appoint a liquidator. They're going to charge you for it, 4 or 5 grand plus VAT, for a small company that is. And they will take charge of the company. They set a creditors meeting, and at the creditors meeting, you cease to act as a director. The insolvency practitioner gets in the hot seat and they close the company down. All unsecured debts attached with that company will be written off: HMRC, VAT, corporation tax, PAYE, bounce back loans, C-bills, supplier debts. And the insolvency practitioner formally closes the company down over the next 12 months. If there's any assets in the business, stock, machinery, money owed in, buildings, plant, then what the insolvency practitioner will try and sell that stuff to realise some returns to the creditors. They will try and realise some money to pay a dividend back to creditors. In certain circumstances, you as the director of the insolvent company can still make an offer to buy some or all of the assets. Now, sometimes, though, that's not going to be a suitable route for you. You might not have the money to pay a liquidator. If you haven't got the money to pay a liquidator, or you've buried your head in the sand for that long, one of your creditors decides to force you into liquidation via a compulsory liquidation route, what happens is you get a winding up petition with a court date. You go to the court date. You can either repay the debts or you can't. If you can't, the business is forcibly wound up by the courts. The official receiver gets involved. And it's the same type of process. You know, they'll try and realise some money to return to creditors. Now, if you don't have that much debt, I don't know, you might owe a little bit to HMRC, a little bit to suppliers. One of the things you may want to consider is to strike the company off. It's going to cost you £10 at Companies House. You cannot do this if you've took a bounce back loan or a C-bills and it still remains unpaid. But let's say, I don't know, you owe 3 or 4 grand to the revenue, you owe a couple of grand to suppliers. What you might want to do is write to the suppliers or physically call them and go, listen, my business has not got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. We are not trading any longer, and what I'm going to try and do is strike the company off at Companies House. But be my guest if you would like to wind my company up, but there's going to be very little in it for you. And most creditors will go, you know what, they'll look at it and they'll let the company get struck off. So I hope you found the video useful, how to close a company down with debt. Bye-bye.